Speaking of Ambazonia getting their own independence, we see a circulated message online that claims that Ambazonia has declared a national lockdown from February 9th to 11th, 2026. It has been dismissed as false and misleading, with no such directive issued by the recognized Southern Cameroon's Amazonian leadership structure. The viral message, which warns residents to tightly stay indoors during what it describes as a little period, falsely attributes the call to Ambazonia and references Cameroon's Youth Day celebration by the French Cameroon. However, Cameroon Youth Day is officially marked on February 11th, not over a 3 day period, but then it calls for a 3 day period lockdown because of this Youth Day. And no verified Amazonian authority has announced a lockdown covering those dates. Amazonian patriots say the false alert bears the hallmarks of a familiar tactic, which is used by the French Cameroon colonial administration and its proxies, the deliberate circulation of premature or fabricated security alerts ahead of politically sensitive date. And the aim of such misinformation is to confuse the population, exhaust public morale, and dilute the impact of any genuine protest action that may be called closer to the actual day of the event. By pushing out false lockdown days in advance, critics say the strategy conditions people to stay indoors early, only for fatigue and skepticism to set in by February 11th, when Southern Cameroonians who oppose the celebrations would traditionally be mobilized to demonstrate rejection through civil resistance or symbolic shutdowns. Southern Cameroon's activists have long described Cameroon's Youth Day as a fraudulent and imposed celebration in the territory of Ambazonia. And the argument is that it is a reminder of a painful historical process in which Southern Cameroon was gradually annexed following the 1961 UN organized plebiscite, subsequent constitutional manipulations, and the eventual erasure of Ambazonia statehood through name changes and centralized rule. For many, the day symbolizes not youth empowerment, but the loss of sovereignty and identity. Amazonians have been urged to verify information carefully and to treat anonymous lockdown messages with caution, especially those lacking official endorsement or clear channels of accountability like the ABC TV and press releases by the government of Ambazonia led by Dr. Samuel Ikome Sako. Now, they accuse individuals spreading such messages of actions that are of detractors to the Amazonian liberation struggle by sowing fear and disorientation rather than principled resistance. Well, as February 11th approaches, community leaders are urging calm, they're urging vigilance and discernment, stressing that false alarms only serve the interest of the colonial system that these false detractors claim to oppose. So, Barrister Mbeseha, looking at this story, I have two questions in mind, but then the false news already going round. I want to hear from your perspective. What do you see happening here? Is it really a case of detractors? And while you're answering that, please do tell us, are there any updates on if and when the actual lockdowns Amazonians would need to protest this botched youth day would be, if there is any lockdown for this February at all, and when?
Well, what I would say is this: you've asked two questions, but before I answer the two questions, let me say this: all Ambazonians, especially those at the home front, they have to be vigilant. Because we cannot deny the fact that there are so many groups out there, each purporting to be for Ambazonia. Some fake, a good number of them fake. So the Ambazonian guy at the in home front, who is directly affected by these lockdowns, must be vigilant to know which is the legitimate authority that they can obey. Yes, there are so many groups, but there's a government in exile. That is the one that we speak for. Even that government in exile has a way to communicate to the people. And so you people back home, you must be careful. Social media has come today. It affects Ambazonia just as it affects many other places in the world. And so adventurers will do that. But from history, we know very, very well that people have used these lockdowns, majority illegally, to extort money from people, to claim that they are catching you in the street because you disobeyed a lockdown. So you must be able to distinguish a legitimate lockdown from an illegal lockdown. And then so I can be free from all this. And so if you ask me the question, do I have an update? I will say right now I don't have an update. But we're on social media. Let the people at home and whoever is interested be keen, be careful, let them watch out. If something comes from the from the government in exile, that's the government headed by President Sako, they will put it out there and everybody should be able to read or see it there. But right now, as we speak, if there's an update, I've not come across it. But that what is out right now does not appear to be the position of this government. And so there's no need. We've had so many lockdowns, we've said all the time. Lockdowns were never meant to be punishment for the citizens. And so declaring lockdowns, some of which have been used, I've just said, just to extort money from people. The pretext that they are punishing individuals or groups for violating the lockdowns. That is criminally not acceptable. That is socially illegal and politically wrong. And so watch out. If there's something, watch out. We still have 8 days to go. If there's any update, it will be publicized by the rightful authority. Watch out for any information coming from Dr. Mongwa or coming from ABC TV. This is where we give our information out. We'll discuss it here if it comes. We'll put out circulars or communiques officially by the government. That apart, don't waste your time looking at what is done from the right source. You can distinguish. There's no other person outside there who calls himself or herself the government of Ambazonia in exile. This is the only one. Watch out again for information coming from this rightful source. If it is not there, don't obey it. But you have to be careful because those guys, those gangsters who have used these lockdowns to make profit are there. They are there trying to profiteer and see what they can get out of this occasion. And so you just have to be very, very careful. Again, keep your eyes open, keep your ears open so that you can get the rightful information. Over to you.
Mbeseha, before we let you go, Amazonians know that this February 11th, that is upcoming, it's a day that marked a United Nations plebiscite that denied the Southern Cameroons an independence option. And another day is May 20th to be the day that Amadou Ahidjo organized a controversial referendum that abolished the federal system created in 1961 and replaced it with a unitary state. Right, Mbeseha, can you say this purported youth day holds as much historical significance of injustice to Ambazonia like the May 20th day?
Both are very, very important and very, very significant. Let us start with with February 11th. It was a plebiscite day. It did not just deprive us of our independence. It did only one thing which they have refused to listen to. It was not a day that we joined the Republic of Cameroon. It was the day that we manifested our intention to join at the future date. On the 11th of February, our fathers, our parents voted with the intent to join. The just intention. Was that intention actually manifested? We are arguing that it was not. Because once we did that, in fact, there would not be October 1st if this was an independent day. So they fixed the date ahead. It was our intention to join them under conditions laid out by the same resolution 1608 later on. Because 1608 came to confirm that we had voted, what intended by vote to join them. And then it laid out the conditions for joining, which have not been fulfilled. And so don't mistake this day for any day of joining. And above all, again, what happened on the 11th of February 1961 was essentially, purely, exclusively for people of British Southern Cameroon. The Republic of Cameroon had nothing to do with it. They didn't take part in the plebiscite. They had nothing to do with it. How then did it become a national day, a youth day of all? It was never called a youth day. How did it become a national youth day? Is the question that we should learn. It has never been part of them. They don't even know it. And then fast forward again to May 20th. May 20th again is manifestly illegal. It was the day that they purportedly abolished what did not even exist. They purported to abolish the federation that they created by themselves. In 1961, coming 1st October, they abolished it like that on May 20th. Again, who are the ones who voted in February, 11 February to join them? If they needed to abolish the federation because we voted on the idea that we'll have a federation. If the federation had to be abolished, who was going to abolish it? It is us, that is Ambazonians, who had voted exclusively to say, okay, we no longer want the federation. It is not them who, because the whole idea of May 20 was to kill what was intended to get by the plebiscite of 1961. To kill it by, not by us, but to kill it by who knew how to part in it. And so there's so much to say about it, but for lack of time, we know that the 2 days are so bad. They are morning days, they are days, if they must celebrate, it should be celebrated in morning. Because they are days that mark the end of Southern Cameroon, as it existed in 1961. It is the day that ended the institutions of Cameroon, come May 20th, 1972. They abolished the institutions that they did not create. They abolished the institutions that we had without consultation. And so both days are days of mourning. And then if we have to celebrate, we celebrate in mourning. We highlight the illegality of the days. We highlight what we're going through. We just talk about electricity. Why are we going through all this? It is because in 1972, they abolished everything that we had, including power camp. And so those days are days of mourning. To me, if we must do anything, we'll go out in black or any symbols that show that we are mourning for the loss of our own statehood. We are mourning for the loss of our own institutions. We are mourning, above all, for the deceit. Because 11 February was carried out with a promise from Ahidjo in 1959 that if we voted to join them, we'll form a federation of two states of equal status. That was the promise made, but promise never kept. And so with regret, and above all again, we blame the UK for making these recommendations to the UN. We blame the UN for endorsing the UK proposals. What was the proposal? That Southern Cameroon was not capable of getting independence by itself. For whatever reason, they said there was no money, but they knew they had money. For whatever reason, they said we were not big enough, but we were bigger than many other countries. We were bigger than Djibouti. We were bigger than so many other countries today in the world, than Gambia. And so it was a fraud orchestrated by Britain and endorsed by the United Nations. Those are reasons that we must mourn and we continue to mourn. These are reasons why we must fight and we continue to fight until we restate what belongs to us, until we exercise our full right to self-determination, and then that will end the struggle. Over to you.